Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy History Channel. Tonight, we are exploring shipbuilding, the craft that turned human ambition into vessels strong enough to cross open water. Every ship begins on land, but its purpose is decided by the sea. For thousands of years, builders have faced one remarkable question. How do you make something heavy enough to endure, yet balanced enough to float? The answer changed history. It shaped labor, invention, power, and movement across the world. Shipbuilding is not only a story of tools, it is a story of judgment. A builder must understand weight before the water tests it. A designer must imagine danger before the hull ever meets a wave. Whole communities once gathered around this work because a finished ship could carry the fate of people far beyond the shore. Tonight's journey moves through the long life of this craft. Some moments may feel familiar. Others may reveal just how astonishing a shipyard can be. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is settle in. Let your shoulders soften. Allow your breathing to slow. And as the day begins to fade away, join me as we explore the remarkable history of shipbuilding together. Let's begin. Every great ship begins with one astonishing question. How can something so heavy learn to float? Before a vessel ever touches water, it exists as a daring argument with gravity. A ship must be heavy enough to carry people, cargo, weapons, engines, or supplies, yet shaped so carefully that the water holds it up instead of swallowing it. That simple truth has challenged builders for thousands of years. Too narrow, and the vessel may roll. Too broad, and it may crawl through the sea. Too much weight in the wrong place, and even a grand design can become dangerous. Shipbuilders learned to think in forces before they had equations for them. They watched how timber floated, how waves struck, and how a loaded hull behaved when the weather changed. Each vessel became a calculation made from skill, memory, and nerve. The wonder is that so many people trusted their lives to structures built from materials that once grew in forests or cooled in furnaces. Every successful launch was proof that human judgment could survive the ocean's test. The shift from wood to iron changed shipbuilding forever. For centuries, timber had been the natural material of ships. It was buoyant, workable, and familiar to generations of craftsmen. Yet wood also set limits. Trees could only grow so large, and a wooden hull under great strain could twist, rot, burn, or leak. Iron offered a different future. At first, many people doubted it. A metal ship sounded almost absurd because iron sinks when dropped into water. The secret was shape. If the hull displaced enough water, even heavy metal could float. Once builders accepted that principle, they gained new freedom. Iron plates and frames could be manufactured with consistent strength, and larger hulls became possible without depending on rare curves of timber. The change did not happen overnight. Early iron ships still borrowed ideas from wooden ones, but the direction was clear. Shipyards moved closer to heavy industry, and the craft of the shipwright began to merge with the world of mills, furnaces, and engineers. Riveted steel ships carried the Industrial Revolution across the oceans. When steel became affordable and reliable, shipbuilding entered a new age of strength. Steel could carry heavy loads without the bulk that iron often required, which meant ships could become larger, faster, and more efficient. The plates were joined with rivets, each one heated, placed, hammered, and clenched into position. A large vessel could contain millions of them. The work was loud, hot, and physically demanding, yet it produced hulls that linked continents with new regularity. Steam engines, coal bunkers, cargo holds, and passenger spaces all depended on the same metal skeleton. These ships did more than move goods. They helped create a world where raw materials, manufactured products, and people crossed oceans on schedules that earlier generations would have found astonishing. The shipyard became a place where industrial power took visible form. Every riveted seam was part of a larger transformation, turning the sea from a barrier into a heavily traveled highway of modern life. Ancient Egyptians built seaworthy ships before the pyramids were complete. Long before the most famous monuments rose from the desert, Egyptian builders were already solving the mystery of travel by water. The Nile was their great road, but evidence shows that their vessels were not limited to calm river journeys. They built ships capable of reaching the Red Sea and possibly trading along distant coasts. Some were made from cedar imported from Lebanon, which shows how valuable good timber was in a land with few large trees. The planks could be shaped, fitted, and lashed together with impressive control. In some cases, ropes acted like internal strength, helping the hull hold its form under strain. These boats were not primitive rafts drifting by chance. They were planned machines for movement, built by specialists who understood wood, water, and load. Their shipbuilding helped Egypt reach beyond its fields and temples. It carried stone, trade goods, soldiers, officials, and sacred objects through a world connected by rivers and seas. Viking shipwrights made ocean raiders from overlapping oak planks. The genius of the northern ship was not only that it was fast, it was that it could do several things extremely well. A Viking vessel could cross rough open water, glide through shallow rivers, and land directly on a beach without needing a harbor. Its planks overlapped in the clinker style, creating a hull that was light, strong, and slightly flexible. That flexibility mattered in cold northern seas, where a stiff vessel could suffer under repeated impact. Oak gave strength, while iron rivets helped fasten the planks securely. The result was a ship that moved with the water instead of fighting it. A long, shallow shape allowed speed under oar or sail, and the symmetrical ends made reversing easier in tight spaces. These vessels helped transform scattered communities into far-reaching seafarers. They carried traders, settlers, explorers, and warriors across routes that linked Scandinavia with places far beyond its own shores. A single warship once required thousands of carefully chosen trees. In the age of wooden navies, a powerful vessel was also a forest transformed. Builders needed different parts of trees for different parts of the hull. Straight trunks could become masts or planking. Naturally curved branches and roots were prized for knees, which strengthened the places where major timbers met. Oak was especially valued because it combined durability with strength. The demand was so great that governments worried about future supply. Some forests were protected, managed, or watched with naval needs in mind. A large warship could consume timber from many acres, and the seasoning of that wood might take years. This meant naval power began long before a keel was laid. It depended on woodland management, transport, skilled cutting, and patient storage. The romance of a tall ship under sail often hides this deeper story. Before cannons, flags, and voyages, there were trees selected because their shapes already seemed to belong to the sea. Chinese treasure ships once dwarfed many European vessels of their age. During the early Ming dynasty, the fleets associated with Zheng He became some of the most ambitious maritime projects in history. Their largest vessels have inspired debate because later accounts describe extraordinary dimensions. Even allowing for caution, the scale of Chinese state shipbuilding at the time was remarkable. These were not lonely ships venturing out one by one. They sailed as part of organized fleets with supply vessels, troop transports, water carriers, and specialized craft. Building them required timber, labor, planning, and administrative power on a level few societies could manage. The shipyards at Nanjing and other centers turned imperial ambition into floating infrastructure. Their voyages reached across the Indian Ocean world, displaying prestige and strengthening diplomatic connections. What makes the story so gripping is not just the size of the ships. It is the fact that a government could gather such resources, send them beyond familiar waters, and make shipbuilding itself a statement of power. Welding allowed shipyards to build faster and stronger hulls. Riveting had served shipbuilders well, but it came with weight, labor, and thousands of possible weak points. Welding changed the conversation. Instead of fastening plates by overlapping them and driving metal pins through holes, workers could fuse steel directly together. A welded joint could be smoother and lighter, which helped reduce drag and save material. It also allowed new approaches to construction. Sections could be made in different parts of a yard, joined with greater speed, and assembled into complete hulls with fewer traditional steps. The method demanded skill and control because poor welds could fail under stress. Early mistakes taught engineers to understand heat, expansion, and metal fatigue more carefully. Over time, welding became one of the defining techniques of modern shipbuilding. It helped shipyards respond quickly during periods of urgent demand, and it reshaped the physical appearance of ships themselves. The smooth sides of many modern vessels owe their clean strength to this breakthrough. Modern ships are assembled from giant blocks, like floating cities. A huge vessel today is rarely built as one continuous object from the keel upward. Instead, it is divided into enormous sections, often called blocks. Each block can contain decks, pipes, wiring, machinery spaces, or accommodation before it is joined to the rest of the ship. This approach lets many teams work at the same time, which makes construction faster and more organized. A shipyard becomes less like a single workshop and more like a carefully choreographed industrial landscape. Steel is cut by computer-controlled machines. Sections are shaped, welded, painted, fitted out, inspected, and moved by cranes of astonishing power. When the blocks come together, the scale can feel unreal. A piece lifted through the air may weigh more than an entire historic vessel. Yet it must align with precision, because small errors can spread through the structure. Modern block construction reveals a striking truth. The largest ships afloat are assembled through thousands of exact decisions made long before launch day. The oldest plank boats were stitched together with natural fibers. Some early builders did not fasten planks with nails. They sewed them. Holes were bored near the edges of wooden boards, and cords made from plant fibers or other organic material were passed through to bind the hull together. To modern eyes, the idea may sound fragile, but it could be surprisingly effective. A stitched hull had a degree of movement that helped it cope with waves and strain. Caulking materials could be packed into the seams to keep water out. This technique appeared in different regions because it answered a basic problem with available resources. Metal was rare, expensive, or unnecessary. Fiber and wood could do the job if handled with care. The result was a vessel that depended on tension as much as shape. Each cord helped hold the structure in balance. These boats remind us that shipbuilding was never a straight march toward metal. It was a long conversation between materials, environments, and practical imagination. The papyrus boats carried Egyptians along the Nile thousands of years ago. Before large timber vessels became common in Egypt, people used a plant that grew abundantly along the riverbanks. Papyrus stems could be bundled tightly together to form light boats that floated well in calm water. These crafts suited daily life on the Nile, where fishing, transport, and short journeys mattered enormously. They were not built to dominate storms. They were built from local material for a river civilization that understood its environment intimately. The shape often curved upward at the ends, which helped the boat move through reeds and shallow places. Such vessels show how shipbuilding begins with observation. Builders used what the landscape offered, then adapted it to human need. A papyrus boat could be made without sawmills, iron tools, or imported timber. Yet it still represented design intelligence. It turned a river plant into a means of movement. In that simple transformation lies one of the oldest truths of shipbuilding. A boat is nature reorganized by human purpose. Some ancient ships were built shell first, before their frames existed. Many people imagine a ship beginning with a skeleton, then receiving its outer skin. In several ancient traditions, the process worked the other way around. Builders formed the outer planking first, creating the shell of the vessel before adding internal frames for support. This demanded remarkable accuracy. The shape had to emerge from the planks themselves, guided by experience and careful fitting. Mortise and tenon joints were sometimes used, locking boards together with small wooden pieces that created a strong edge-to-edge connection. Once the hull form was established, frames could be inserted to reinforce what already existed. This method shows that early shipwrights were not simply improvising. They possessed refined systems that could produce large, capable vessels without modern drawings. The hull grew like a shaped container, its strength coming from joined surfaces rather than a pre-built framework. It is a fascinating reminder that there are many ways to think a ship into being. Greek triremes depended on light hulls and disciplined rows of oars. A trireme was a war machine built around human power. Its success depended on keeping the hull light enough for speed, while strong enough to survive combat at sea. The vessel carried rowers arranged in 3 levels along each side, creating a remarkable concentration of muscle and rhythm. When trained crews pulled together, the ship could accelerate quickly and maneuver with precision. The bronze ram at the bow turned speed into a weapon, striking enemy hulls below the waterline. This meant the shipbuilder's choices mattered directly in battle. Extra weight could slow the attack. Poor balance could ruin handling. Weak construction could fail at the moment of impact. Unlike broad cargo vessels, these ships were narrow, purposeful, and demanding. They required skilled maintenance because lightness came at a cost. The trireme reveals a special kind of shipbuilding, where the vessel was designed not to endure long voyages, but to convert coordination into sudden force. Roman shipwrights copied captured enemy ships to build fleets faster. During the First Punic War, Rome faced a serious problem. It was powerful on land, but Carthage had far greater naval experience. According to ancient accounts, the Romans used a wrecked or captured Carthaginian vessel as a model for building their own fleet. Whether every detail of the story is exact or not, the larger point is striking. Shipbuilding can be learned through imitation as well as tradition. By studying an enemy design, Roman builders could shorten the slow process of trial and error. They still had to gather timber, train crews, organize yards, and solve countless practical problems. But a physical model gave them a pattern to follow. This was reverse engineering in the ancient world. Rome then added its own tactical thinking, including boarding devices that suited its infantry strengths. The episode shows that ships are more than vehicles. They are bundles of knowledge. Capture the right vessel, and you may capture part of a civilization's maritime skill. Phoenician builders helped spread ship design across the Mediterranean. The Phoenicians became famous because they understood the sea as a network, rather than a boundary. Their communities along the eastern Mediterranean built vessels for trade, colonization, and long-distance contact. They moved valuable goods through ports that connected different cultures. That activity also spread maritime knowledge. Hull forms, cargo practices, steering methods, and construction ideas could travel with craftsmen and merchants. Their ships were often designed for practical endurance, carrying goods across waters that could shift from calm to dangerous without warning. They helped link regions that spoke different languages and valued different materials. Shipbuilding in this world was not isolated. It changed through contact. A useful technique seen in one harbor could influence another. A successful trading vessel could become a model worth copying. The Phoenician achievement was not simply that they built boats. It was that their seafaring life helped turn the Mediterranean into a shared arena of exchange, where design knowledge moved along with cargo. The Kyrenia shipwreck revealed how ancient merchants built sturdy traders. Discovered off Cyprus, this small, ancient merchant vessel gave archaeologists a rare look at practical shipbuilding from the classical world. It was not a royal showpiece or a famous warship. It was a working trader, built to carry goods and survive repeated voyages. Its preserved hull showed careful planking, joined with techniques that required patience and accuracy. The cargo included amphorae and other items that helped researchers understand the rhythms of commerce. What makes the wreck so valuable is its ordinary purpose. It reveals the hidden engineering behind everyday trade. A merchant ship had to balance capacity with safety. It needed enough room for cargo, yet enough strength to endure weather and wear. Repairs visible in the remains suggest a vessel with a working life, not a single dramatic journey. Through it, we meet the practical intelligence of ancient builders. Their craft allowed small businesses, coastal communities, and regional economies to move across the sea. Sewn boats survived because flexible seams absorbed the sea's movement. A rigid hull can be strong, but the sea does not always reward stiffness. In many early and traditional boats, the planks were lashed or stitched in ways that allowed slight movement. That flexibility could reduce stress when waves twisted the vessel or when it landed on uneven ground. Instead of every shock concentrating at a hard joint, the hull could respond with a little give. Builders often combined these seams with caulking, padding, or lashings that kept the boat useful and watertight. The technique required maintenance, but it was not a sign of weakness. It was a different philosophy of strength. In regions where materials, tools, or sailing conditions favored it, sewn construction remained sensible for a very long time. The survival of these boats tells us something important. Shipbuilding is not always about making the hardest structure possible. Sometimes the smarter answer is controlled softness, allowing the vessel to live with the water's motion rather than resist it completely. Arab dhows carried triangular sails across monsoon trading routes. The dhow became one of the great working vessels of the Indian Ocean world. Its lateen sail, with its triangular form, helped sailors take advantage of seasonal winds that reversed direction across the year. These monsoon patterns created a natural timetable for travel between Arabia, East Africa, India, and beyond. Dhow builders shaped vessels for cargo, endurance, and coastal access. Their ships carried spices, textiles, timber, dates, ceramics, and countless other goods through a trading system older than many modern nations. The craft was not just technical. It was cultural memory held in wood and rope. Builders often worked through inherited knowledge, judging curves by eye and experience. Sailors trusted the vessel because generations had refined it for that world of wind and current. The dhow shows how shipbuilding can belong to a whole oceanic civilization. Its design was not an isolated invention. It was the visible answer to geography, weather, commerce, and human patience. The dhows' stitched hulls avoided metal that could corrode in seawater. In parts of the Indian Ocean, some dhows were made with planks sewn together using cord rather than fastened with iron nails. This choice has often fascinated observers because it seems unexpected for vessels that traveled so far. Yet it made practical sense. Iron can rust, weaken, and stain timber when exposed to salt water. Organic lashings could be replaced, tightened, and repaired with materials familiar to local builders. The seams also allowed a certain flexibility, which may have helped the hull endure beaching and heavy use. Construction traditions varied, and not all dhows were made the same way. Still, the stitched examples show how a technique can persist because it fits its environment. These vessels were not backward versions of nailed ships. They were products of specific needs and long experience. Their builders understood that durability does not always come from the most rigid fastening. Sometimes it comes from a system that can be renewed, adjusted, and kept alive through skilled maintenance. Polynesian canoe builders crossed oceans without nails or written plans. Across the Pacific, master builders created vessels capable of journeys that still feel almost impossible. Their canoes were shaped from inherited knowledge, passed through hands, voices, and practice, rather than technical drawings. The builder needed to understand timber, lashings, hull curves, balance, and the demands of long ocean travel. Every decision mattered because failure could mean disappearance into an enormous sea. These craft carried families, crops, animals, tools, and traditions between islands separated by distances that can humble modern travelers. The construction relied on careful joining and strong cordage, often made from plant fibers prepared with patience and skill. A canoe was not only transport, it was a moving home, a survival system, and a bridge between worlds. What makes the achievement so astonishing is the confidence behind it. Builders created ocean-crossing vessels with materials gathered from island environments, then trusted those vessels to carry human life across horizons where no land could be seen for days. Double-hulled canoes gave Pacific navigators speed, stability, and range. The double canoe was one of the great answers to the problem of long-distance voyaging. By joining two hulls with a platform, builders created a vessel that could carry more people and supplies without becoming dangerously unstable. The spacing between the hulls gave steadiness, while the long, narrow forms moved efficiently through the water. This was not a crude solution. It was a refined design for a specific oceanic world where voyages demanded endurance and confidence. The platform could hold food, water, tools, and living space during journeys far from land. The vessel also gave navigators a dependable base from which to read waves, winds, birds, and stars. In such canoes, communities did not merely drift from island to island. They planned, settled, returned, and remembered. The design helped make the Pacific a connected human world. It turned open water into a pathway, and it gave exploration a structure strong enough to carry generations. The Austronesian outrigger made small boats astonishingly safe offshore. A narrow canoe can be fast, but speed alone is not enough when the water becomes unpredictable. The outrigger solved this by adding a smaller float to one side, connected by curved or straight supports. This simple-looking addition changed everything. It resisted tipping, allowed slimmer hulls, and gave sailors greater confidence beyond sheltered water. In many island societies, the design became central to fishing, travel, and everyday movement. The outrigger did not need massive timber or heavy construction. It used lightness intelligently, turning a potential weakness into an advantage. Because the main hull could remain narrow, the boat cut through the water with grace and efficiency. The float acted like a steadying hand, keeping the vessel upright when wind or waves pressed against it. Across huge regions, Variations of this idea appeared in forms adapted to local seas. It is one of shipbuilding's most elegant inventions, because a small addition transformed what a small boat could safely do. Viking longships could cross oceans and still land on beaches. The longship's power lay in its ability to ignore the usual boundaries between sea, river, and shore. A deeper vessel might need a proper harbor, but this design could slide into shallow water and bring its crew directly onto land. That changed the meaning of movement. It allowed sudden arrivals, rapid departures, and travel along routes where larger ships would be trapped. The hull's shallow draft made river journeys possible, while the sail gave speed across open stretches of sea. Oars provided control when wind failed or precision was needed. This combination made the vessel startlingly versatile. It could serve raiders, traders, settlers, and explorers, depending on the mission. The longship was not just a weapon of surprise. It was a carefully balanced tool for a world of broken coastlines, estuaries, islands, and inland waterways. Its builders created a ship that could move between worlds, carrying people from ocean horizon to riverbank with remarkable ease. Clinker planking gave northern ships strength without making them heavy. In cold northern waters, builders developed a style that made ships both tough and responsive. Each plank overlapped the one below it, creating ridges along the hull and a structure that spread strain across the vessel. This method avoided the need for excessive internal weight. The result was a hull that could flex slightly under pressure without losing its integrity. That mattered in seas where waves struck hard and landing on rough shores was sometimes unavoidable. The overlapping planks also made repair practical, because damaged boards could be replaced by skilled hands using known techniques. Clinker-built vessels developed into many forms, from small working boats to larger sea-going craft. The method gave northern shipbuilding a recognizable character, visible even before a vessel moved. Its beauty is not only in appearance. It is in the logic of the structure. Strength came from layered cooperation, where many thin pieces worked together instead of relying on massive bulk. The Gokstad ship proved Viking builders understood elegance and speed. When the Gokstad ship was excavated in Norway, it gave the world a remarkably complete glimpse of Viking craftsmanship. The vessel had been buried in a mound, preserved well enough to reveal details that changed how people imagine northern seafaring. Its lines were clean, balanced, and purposeful. This was no rough barbarian craft. It was a sophisticated vessel, built by people with a deep understanding of timber and movement through water. The hull was broad enough for stability, yet fine enough for impressive speed. Its construction showed carefully shaped planks, sturdy frames, and a form suited to both sail and oar. Modern reconstructions have helped demonstrate how capable such ships could be under real conditions. The discovery matters because it replaced myth with evidence. Here was proof in wood that Viking shipwrights were not merely practical builders. They were designers of extraordinary sensitivity, able to create vessels that were beautiful because they worked so well. Shipbuilding has quietly shaped trade, empire, exploration, and survival. Many histories focus on kings, battles, and discoveries, but ships made much of that history possible. A vessel could carry grain through famine, soldiers into conflict, pilgrims toward new homes, or merchants toward profit. The design of ships influenced which routes were practical and which ambitions remained dreams. A deeper hull could carry more cargo. A faster vessel could outrun danger or shorten a season at sea. A stronger structure could make distant voyages less desperate. Shipbuilding, therefore, sits behind many turning points that seem at first to be about politics or geography. Ports grew because ships came. Empires expanded because fleets could be supplied. Coastal communities survived because fishing boats returned. Even ideas traveled more widely when vessels became dependable enough to carry books, instruments, letters, and skilled people across water. The subject is not only about making objects. It is about giving human plans a moving body strong enough to cross uncertainty. The Oseberg ship was a masterpiece, built for ceremony and status. Some ships were meant to work hard throughout a long seafaring life. Others carried meaning beyond travel. The Oseberg ship, found in a burial mound in Norway, reveals a world where shipbuilding, art, rank, and ritual could meet in one breathtaking object. Its carved decoration is rich and intricate, turning the vessel into a statement of identity before it is even considered as transport. The burial included 2 women of high status, along with remarkable goods that suggest wealth and ceremony. The ship itself was not as ruggedly ocean-focused as some other Viking vessels, but that makes it even more interesting. It shows that ships could hold symbolic power. They could represent passage, memory, and social importance. A community invested enormous effort in placing such a vessel into the earth, away from the water it might once have known. The result is one of history's most moving shipbuilding survivals, because it shows craftsmanship serving belief. Medieval cog ships helped Northern Europe move heavier cargo by sea. The clog became one of the great cargo carriers of medieval northern waters. It was broad, sturdy, and practical, built for merchants who needed capacity more than elegance. Its high sides helped protect goods and crew, while its single mast and square sail suited the trading routes of the North Sea and Baltic. Unlike sleeker vessels built for speed, the cob was a working platform for commerce. It could carry bulk goods that supported growing towns and trading networks. Grain, timber, wool, salt, and other cargoes moved in vessels of this general type, helping expand the economic life of Northern Europe. Shipbuilders adapted the design to the needs of merchants, harbors, and changing maritime laws. The cog's importance lies in its plain usefulness. It did not need to look heroic to transform history. By carrying more cargo with dependable strength, it helped make sea trade more regular, towns more connected, and merchant power more influential. Straight sternposts made stronger rudders possible on medieval ships. Steering is one of the hidden revolutions of ship design. Earlier vessels often used side rudders or steering oars, which could work well but had limits as ships grew larger. A straight sternpost allowed a rudder to be mounted at the center of the stern, creating a stronger and more controlled steering system. This change helped larger medieval vessels handle more effectively, especially when carrying heavy cargo or sailing in crowded waters. A central rudder could align with the ship's direction and respond to the helmsman with greater authority. It also freed builders to develop new stern shapes and larger hulls. Such an improvement may sound modest, but shipbuilding often advances through details that transform everything around them. Better steering meant safer approaches to harbors, more confidence under sail, and more manageable vessels in rough conditions. The sternpost rudder became part of the foundation for later European ocean-going ships, quietly reshaping what size and ambition could mean. Carvel construction created smoother hulls for larger ocean-going vessels. In carvel building, planks are fitted edge to edge rather than overlapped. The result is a smooth outer surface that can suit larger hulls and different structural arrangements. This method became highly important in the development of European ships intended for longer ocean voyages. A smooth hull could reduce drag, but the deeper advantage lay in how the vessel could be framed internally. Strong frames supported the planking, which allowed builders to increase size and complexity. The technique required careful shaping because the seams had to meet accurately and be caulked effectively. It also changed the look of ships. Instead of visible stepped lines along the sides, the hull became a continuous surface. Carvel construction helped create vessels with greater carrying capacity and broader possibilities for rigging and armament. Its rise marked a shift toward ships that were not only coastal travelers. They were platforms for crossing open seas, carrying heavier loads and pushing maritime ambition farther. Portuguese caravels helped explorers sail closer into the wind. The caravel became famous because it suited the hard work of exploration along unfamiliar coasts. It was relatively small, maneuverable, and capable of using lateen sails that improved performance when sailing against contrary winds. This ability mattered greatly for voyages where returning home was as important as pushing outward. Along the African coast, sailors faced wind systems and currents that demanded patience and experimentation. A vessel that could work closer to the wind gave crews more options. The caravel's size also allowed it to enter shallower waters and investigate coastlines more safely than larger ships. It could carry enough supplies for serious voyaging while remaining adaptable. Portuguese maritime expansion did not depend on courage alone. It depended on designs that matched the problem. The caravel was one of those solutions. It turned exploration from a gamble into a more repeatable practice, and it helped open routes that altered the map of the known world. The carrack turned shipbuilding toward truly global ocean voyages. As European sailors ventured farther, they needed vessels that could carry more supplies, survive longer crossings, and support crews over great distances. The carrack answered that demand. Larger than the caravel, it combined cargo capacity with ocean-going strength. Its high forecastle and stern castle reflected older defensive ideas, but its deeper hull gave it the endurance needed for extended voyages. Ships of this kind carried explorers into waters that connected continents in new and disruptive ways. The carrack could transport trade goods, weapons, food, water, and the human labor required for long expeditions. It was not a delicate craft. It was a heavy traveling world, built to endure uncertainty. The importance of the carrack lies in the scale of possibility it created. It helped shift shipbuilding from regional seafaring toward global connection. With such vessels, oceans became routes between distant economies, and ship design became inseparable from the expansion of world history. Galleons were built to carry cargo and survive naval combat. The galleon emerged in an age when wealth at sea needed protection. It was not enough for a ship to carry valuable cargo. It also had to face attack, sail in fleets, and mount heavy guns. Builders refined hull shapes to make these vessels more stable and manageable than some earlier high-sided ships. The design balanced storage, endurance, and firepower. A galleon could move treasure, supplies, soldiers, or trade goods, while also serving as a warship. Its decks and sides were arranged to support cannon, which changed how naval battles were fought. Instead of relying only on boarding, ships increasingly fought through broadsides and maneuver. The galleon, therefore, sat at the center of a changing maritime world. It was a commercial vessel, a military platform, and a symbol of state power. Its construction had to satisfy competing demands, which is why it remains one of the most fascinating ship types of the early modern sea. Spanish treasure fleets relied on shipyards spread across an empire. The famous flow of silver and goods across the Atlantic depended on far more than daring captains. It required a vast shipbuilding and repair system. Spain's maritime empire needed vessels built, maintained, and replaced across multiple regions. Shipyards in Europe and the Americas supplied different needs, using available timber, labor, and local expertise. Tropical waters, long voyages, storms, and marine organisms all punished ships constantly. A fleet system could only function if damaged vessels were repaired and new ones entered service. The ships had to carry cargo securely, defend themselves, and travel in organized convoys. This made shipbuilding part of imperial logistics. The treasure fleet was not simply a dramatic image of gold crossing the sea. It was an enormous administrative challenge made of timber contracts, dockyard schedules, skilled trades, and strategic planning. Behind every arrival in port stood a hidden world of builders, caulkers, carpenters, rope makers, and officials trying to keep the ocean system alive. Venetian shipbuilders used assembly line methods centuries before factories. Long before modern industrial production, Venice developed an astonishing system for building and equipping ships. Its arsenal was a controlled state shipyard, where materials, workers, and processes were organized with unusual discipline. Instead of every vessel being treated as a completely separate project, parts and tasks could be standardized. Timber, rope, weapons, fittings, and stores moved through a planned environment. Observers later marveled at how quickly a ship could be prepared when the system worked at full force. This was not an assembly line in the modern mechanical sense, but it showed the same powerful idea. Break a complex task into coordinated steps, and production becomes faster and more predictable. Venice needed this because its power depended on maritime trade and naval readiness. The arsenal turned shipbuilding into statecraft. It made the Republic's ambitions visible in wood, iron, labor, and timing. Few places reveal so clearly that organization itself can be a form of technology. The Venetian arsenal could prepare warships at astonishing speed. The arsenal's reputation rested not only on building ships, but on readiness. In a crisis, Venice needed vessels armed, supplied, and crewed without delay. The shipyard stored materials and equipment in ways that allowed rapid preparation. Hulls, weapons, rigging, and provisions could be brought together through an organized system that impressed visitors from across Europe. The famous accounts of ships being completed with extraordinary speed may contain elements of display, but the underlying achievement was real. Venice had created a maritime machine run by human hands. Specialists worked in defined roles, and the state controlled much of the process. This allowed the Republic to respond to danger with a speed that private, scattered building could not easily match. The arsenal was therefore more than a workplace. It was a strategic reserve, a symbol of discipline, and a warning to rivals. It proved that in naval power, the ability to prepare quickly could be as important as the ships themselves. Shipwrights once shaped hulls by memory, proportion, and experience. Before naval architecture became dominated by formal calculations, many vessels were born from traditions carried in the minds and bodies of builders. A master shipwright understood proportions that had worked before. He knew how a curve should look, how a plank should lie, and how much fullness a hull needed for its purpose. This knowledge was not vague guesswork. It was practical intelligence gathered through years of launches, repairs, failures, and improvements. Templates, half models, and rules of thumb helped guide the work, but the builder's judgment remained central. A hull could be altered for a local fishing ground, a river mouth, a cargo type, or a sailing habit. The shipyard was a school where apprentices learned by watching and doing. This kind of craft knowledge is easy to underestimate because it was not always written down. Yet it produced vessels that crossed seas, fought battles, and fed communities. Experience itself was the design instrument. Master builders guarded design knowledge like a valuable family secret. In many shipbuilding communities, the most important information was not freely shared. A successful hull shape could mean better fishing, faster trade, safer passages, or greater military advantage. Families and workshops protected their methods because knowledge was livelihood. A line drawn on a mold, a preferred timber curve, or a particular way of balancing a vessel might separate a respected builder from an ordinary one. Apprentices earned trust over time before they were allowed to understand the deeper logic of the craft. This secrecy also explains why some older traditions are difficult to reconstruct today. If techniques lived mainly in memory, they could vanish when communities changed or workshops closed. Yet secrecy did not prevent innovation. It often made shipbuilding intensely local, with distinct forms developing in different harbors and regions. The guarded nature of the craft gives it a human drama. Behind every elegant vessel stood not only labor, but reputation, inheritance, pride, and knowledge carefully protected. Lofting turned small drawings into full-sized shipyard patterns. A ship may begin as a modest plan, but the yard must build it at full size. Lofting solved that challenge. Workers laid out the vessel's lines on a large floor, often using battens to create smooth curves. These full-scale shapes became the guide for frames, plates, and other components. The process demanded accuracy because tiny mistakes in a drawing could become serious problems when enlarged. Lofts were often among the most important spaces in a shipyard. They transformed design into buildable reality. The work required mathematical understanding, steady hands, and an eye for fairness in curves. Before digital modeling, this was where the ship's form truly came alive. The floor became a map of the future hull. From it, patterns could be made and passed to the workshops. Lofting is fascinating because it sits between imagination and construction. It is the moment when an idea stops being small and begins becoming something that can enter the sea. A ship's keel was once treated like its backbone. In traditional wooden construction, the keel was the central timber from which much of the vessel's structure developed. It ran along the bottom of the ship and helped define the line of the hull. Builders often regarded its laying as a major ceremonial moment because it marked the true beginning of the vessel. From this long foundation, frames could rise and the shape could grow. A poor keel could compromise everything that followed. It had to be strong, straight enough for the design, and suited to the stresses that would travel through the hull. The comparison with a backbone is more than poetic. The keel helped organize the body of the ship. It gave direction, depth, and continuity. In some traditions, people placed coins, charms, or tokens near it as part of launch customs or protective belief. The keel reminds us that shipbuilding is both engineering and ritual, where structure and meaning often begin in the same piece of timber. The launching of a ship could become a whole town spectacle. A launch was never just a technical step. In many shipbuilding communities, it became a public event filled with tension. Months or years of labor reached a single visible moment when the vessel moved from land toward water. Crowds gathered because the outcome mattered. A successful launch meant work, pride, safety, and future voyages. A failed one could damage the ship, injure workers, or shame the yard. Builders prepared the ways carefully, using grease, wedges, ropes, and timing to control the movement. Once released, the hull might slide with astonishing force, accompanied by cheers, bells, or music. The ceremony of naming often added emotion, giving the vessel a public identity before its career began. Such moments reveal the social life of shipbuilding. A ship belonged to owners and crews, but it also belonged to the people who watched it grow. When it finally entered the water, a town saw its own skill made visible. Oak became prized because it bent, endured, and resisted seawater. Among the great shipbuilding woods, oak held a special place for centuries. It was tough, dense, and able to survive hard service at sea. Its grain could provide strength, while certain parts of the tree offered natural curves useful in framing. Oak also contains tannins that help resist decay, which made it valuable in wet conditions. Working it was demanding because it could be heavy and stubborn under tools. Yet that difficulty was part of its appeal. A vessel made from good oak carried a sense of confidence. Builders learned which trees suited planks, which suited frames, and which should be rejected. The supply of suitable oak became a matter of national concern in countries with large navies. It could take generations to grow what a fleet might consume rapidly. The story of oak is therefore not just about wood. It is about time. A ship launched in 1 century might depend on a tree planted or protected long before. Curved trees were chosen because they already matched a ship's ribs. Shipwrights valued shapes that nature had already formed. A straight board could be cut from many trunks, but the curved pieces needed for strong frames and knees were harder to find. Branch junctions, roops, and naturally bent trunks offered grain that followed the curve instead of being cut across it. This mattered because wood is strongest when its fibers run through the shape being used. If a builder simply cut a curve from a straight plank, the grain might be weakened at the very point where strength was needed. So shipbuilding reached into forests with a highly selective eye. A tree that looked awkward to a farmer might look perfect to a shipwright. This created a deep connection between woodland form and hull strength. The ribs of a vessel were not only manufactured. In a sense, they were discovered. The future ship already existed in fragments among living trees, waiting for someone skilled enough to recognize it. Shipbuilders searched forests for natural knees to strengthen wooden hulls. A natural knee is one of the most revealing pieces in wooden ship construction. It is a curved timber used to brace major structural joints, especially where decks meet the sides of the hull. Its power comes from the way the grain follows the bend, making it far stronger than an artificially cut angle. Finding these pieces required knowledge of trees and terrain. Roots and lower branches often produced the best forms. Shipbuilders or timber agents searched forests for shapes that could resist the enormous forces inside a working vessel. Without such reinforcement, the ship's structure could loosen under waves, cargo loads, and the pull of rigging. Natural knees were so valuable that their availability affected construction planning. They show how deeply wooden shipbuilding depended on biology. The forest did not merely supply raw material. It supplied preformed strength. Each knee was a collaboration between growth and craft, shaped first by weather and soil, then by tools. Pine masts had to be tall, straight, light, and resilient. A mast seems simple until you imagine the forces it must survive. It has to carry sails, resist wind pressure, absorb motion, and remain dependable, far from help. Pine became highly prized for masts because suitable trees could grow tall and straight while remaining lighter than many hardwoods. The best mast timber had few knots, a regular grain, and enough flexibility to bend without snapping. In the age of sail, great powers searched widely for these trees. Some came from Northern Europe, some from North America, and some from carefully managed sources under state control. Transporting them was a challenge in itself, since a fine mast could be enormous and easily damaged. Shipbuilders understood that a vessel's performance depended not only on the hull, but on the vertical forest it carried above deck. A good mast allowed sail to become controlled power. A poor one could endanger the whole voyage. In that single timber stood the ship's reach toward the wind. Tar and pitch helped wooden ships keep the ocean outside. Wooden ships survived by resisting water, but their planks and seams always needed protection. Tar and pitch became essential materials because they could seal, coat, and preserve. Applied to ropes, hull seams, and wooden surfaces, these sticky substances helped repel moisture and slow decay. The smell of tar became part of maritime life, clinging to yards, rigging, clothes, and harbor air. Producing it required its own industry, often involving slow-burning wood in controlled conditions. This connected shipbuilding to forests in yet another way. A vessel was not complete simply because its timbers were joined. It needed layers of defense against the sea's constant intrusion. Pitch could be worked into seams with fibers during caulking, creating barriers that moved with the hull. These materials were humble, messy, and indispensable. They remind us that a ship's survival often depended on substances that rarely receive attention. Without them, even the finest planking could become a leaking promise. Caulking turned narrow gaps between planks into watertight seams. A wooden hull could never rely on perfect contact alone. Planks moved with moisture, temperature, load, and strain. Caulking solved the problem by filling the seams with fibers driven tightly into the gaps. Oakum, often made from old rope, was a common material. Workers used special irons and mallets, striking rhythmically along the hull. The sound of caulking was one of the voices of a shipyard. After the fibers were packed in, sealing compounds helped keep water out. The skill lay in using the right pressure. Too loose, and the seam leaked. Too tight, and the planks could be forced apart. Caulkers therefore held a crucial place in wooden shipbuilding. Their work stood between safety and disaster. A magnificent vessel could fail if its seams were poorly sealed. The practice also shows how ships were never truly static. They swelled, settled, and worked in the sea. Caulking allowed that movement while defending the fragile interior from the ocean outside. Shipworms forced builders to protect hulls with clever coverings. One of the greatest enemies of wooden ships was not a storm or a cannon. It was a small marine creature that bored into submerged timber. Shipworms are not worms in the ordinary sense, but mollusks that tunnel through wood and weaken it from within. In warm waters, they could damage a hull with frightening speed. Builders and sailors tried many defenses. Some used sacrificial layers of wood. Others applied coatings that discouraged attack. Lead sheathing and later copper coverings offered stronger protection, though each material brought cost and technical challenges. The threat shaped routes, maintenance schedules, and naval planning. A ship could look sound above the waterline while being silently eaten below. Dry docking and inspection became essential because unseen damage could grow dangerous. Shipworms reveal a striking truth about shipbuilding. The sea is not empty. It is an environment full of life that interacts with every surface. A vessel had to be designed against biology as well as weather. Copper sheathing helped ships resist fouling and sail faster. As ships spent long periods at sea, their underwater hulls collected weed, barnacles, and marine growth. This fouling slowed them dramatically, increased fuel or food demands, and made voyages less predictable. Copper sheathing offered a powerful advantage. When attached to the hull, it discouraged many organisms from settling and helped protect against boring creatures. Cleaner bottoms meant better speed and handling over long journeys. For naval vessels, that could decide whether a ship caught an enemy or escaped one. For merchant vessels, it could mean shorter passages and lower costs. The adoption of copper required solving practical problems, including reactions between metals used in fastenings. Once those issues were better understood, the benefits became obvious. A ship's performance depended not only on sails and hull shape, but also on what happened beneath the water where no one could see. Copper changed that hidden surface into a strategic asset, giving ships a cleaner passage through the sea. A ship of the line was a floating wooden fortress. In the age of sail, naval power could be measured by the number of heavy guns a vessel carried into battle. These warships were built to stand in ordered battle formations, where each one fired broadsides while holding its place in a deadly moving wall. Their construction demanded immense strength. thick wooden sides had to support multiple gun decks, resist recoil, and survive the violent shock of enemy fire. Inside, the ship was a crowded world of sailors, officers, carpenters, gunners, cooks, livestock, powder, rope, and timber. Every beam had to work under pressure because the vessel was both weapon and home. The name came from the line of battle, where discipline mattered as much as bravery. A single ship could carry the destructive force of a small army. Yet it still depended on wind, seamanship, and maintenance. These vessels reveal how shipbuilding turned forests into military power, and how a carefully built hull could decide the fate of nations. Naval dockyards became some of the largest industrial workplaces on Earth. Long before the modern factory became familiar, great naval yards gathered huge numbers of workers into highly organized spaces. A dockyard needed carpenters, sawyers, smiths, sailmakers, rope workers, coopers, laborers, clerks, and overseers. Each trade fed into the next. Timber arrived by river or cart. Ironwork was forged. Masts were prepared. Hulls were repaired, launched, inspected, and supplied. These places were not simply workshops. They were engines of state power. A country with dependable dockyards could maintain fleets through long wars and distant deployments. Without them, even the finest ships would decay into uselessness. The scale could be astonishing. Vast stores held timber, cordage, canvas, anchors, blocks, and guns. Rules governed time, wages, materials, and security. The dockyard became a city of labor shaped around the needs of the sea. Its existence reminds us that naval strength was never only about admirals and battles. It was built each day by thousands of skilled hands on shore. Chatham Dockyard built warships for more than 4 centuries. On the River Medway, one British dockyard became a remarkable record of changing naval technology. It served through the age of wooden sailing ships, the rise of steam power, and the arrival of iron and steel warships. Over its long life, Chatham built and maintained vessels that reflected the needs of different centuries. Its workers saw shipbuilding move from hand-shaped timber to industrial metalwork. That continuity makes the site extraordinary. It was not frozen in one era. It adapted again and again as warfare, engines, materials, and imperial demands changed. Generations of families found employment there, and the yard shaped the surrounding community as surely as it shaped ships. The place carried memory in its buildings, slips, docks, and workshops. A vessel launched there was part of a much longer story of labor and national ambition. Chatham shows how shipyards can become historical witnesses, preserving the transformation of maritime power across centuries. Portsmouth became a living engine of British naval power. A fleet needs a home capable of feeding its constant hunger for repair, supply, and organization. Portsmouth became one of Britain's most important answers to that need. Its harbour offered protection, access to the channel, and space for a growing naval establishment. Over time, the dockyard expanded into a complex world of slips, basins, storehouses, workshops, and administrative buildings. Ships arrived damaged by weather, combat, or simple wear. They left refitted, armed, and ready for service. The yard supported famous vessels and ordinary ones, and both mattered. Naval dominance depended on routine as much as glory. Portsmouth also became a place where innovation could be tested and absorbed. New building methods, new materials, and new technologies passed through its gates. To understand its importance, imagine a navy as a living creature. Portsmouth was one of the organs that kept it breathing. Without such a base, ships could sail, but they could not remain powerful for long. Rope walks were built long because ships needed enormous ropes. A sailing ship carried a staggering amount of cordage, and many ropes had to be made in very long lengths. That is why rope walks were built as extended buildings or open lanes where fibers could be twisted together over distance. Workers walked backward while turning hemp, flax, or other fibers into yarns, strands, and finally rope. The length of the walk helped determine the length of the finished product. This work may sound simple, but the quality of rope could decide whether a mast stood, a sail held, or an anchor could be managed safely. Rope had to be strong, flexible, and reliable in wet conditions. A large ship required lines for rigging, hoisting, steering, securing, and countless daily tasks. The rope walk was therefore an essential part of shipbuilding's hidden world. It reminds us that a vessel was not only wood or metal. It was also tension, fiber, and trust stretched across the whole ship. Sailmaking was shipbuilding's quiet partner in every ocean voyage. A hull gives a ship its body, but in the sailing age, canvas gave it motion. Sailmakers turned heavy cloth into carefully shaped surfaces that could capture wind and convert it into controlled power. Their work required more than stitching. A sail had to be cut with attention to stretch, curve, strength, and purpose. Too flat, and it might perform poorly. Too weak, and it could tear when most needed. Different sails served different winds and maneuvers, and everyone placed loads on rigging and masts. The sail loft was a place of measuring, cutting, sewing, and repair. Huge pieces of canvas spread across floors, while workers moved over them with practiced skill. The finished sail looked simple from a distance, but it carried a deep understanding of weather and strain. Shipbuilding often celebrates hulls, yet a sailing vessel without well-made canvas was only half alive. Sailmaking turned the invisible force of wind into a voyage. Figureheads turned ships into symbols before they ever sailed. At the bow of many vessels, carved figures gave wood a face and a story. A figurehead might show a warrior, animal, monarch, mythical being, or local emblem. It announced identity before the ship reached port. For crews, it could become a focus of pride, superstition, and belonging. For owners and navies, it projected status and intention. The carving had to survive weather, spray, impact, and constant motion, so artistry had to meet practical strength. These figures also reveal how shipbuilding extended beyond engineering. A vessel was not just built to float. It was built to be recognized, feared, admired, or remembered. The bow was the first part to meet the sea, and placing a powerful image there gave the ship a kind of public character. Even when figureheads fell out of common use, their legacy remained. They show that ships have always carried meaning as well as people, cargo, and force. Ship bells, names, and carvings gave vessels public identities. A ship becomes more than a structure when people begin to treat it as an individual. Names are central to that transformation. They can honor places, rulers, ideals, families, or events. Bells marked time on board and became associated with the rhythm of shipboard life. Carvings, badges, and decorative details helped distinguish one vessel from another, especially in crowded harbors or large fleets. These features mattered because ships often lived dramatic lives. They departed, returned, disappeared, survived storms, changed owners, and gathered reputations. Sailors could develop deep attachments to them. A name painted on the stern might carry memories of hardship and pride for everyone who served aboard. Shipbuilding therefore ends not only with a launch, but with a social identity. The vessel enters human conversation. People speak of it as if it has temperament, luck, or destiny. That habit may seem romantic, but it reflects the real bond between human communities and the machines that carry them across danger. Dry docks let shipbuilders repair hulls beneath the waterline. The most vulnerable parts of a ship are often the hardest to reach. A hull spends its working life with much of its surface hidden underwater, where damage, fouling, rot, corrosion, or structural weakness can develop unseen. Dry docks solved this by allowing vessels to be floated into a chamber, sealed in place, and then left standing as the water was removed. Suddenly, the entire underside could be inspected. Workers could replace planking, repair metal plates, clean growth, check fastenings, and restore protective coatings. The idea transformed maintenance because ships no longer had to be careened on beaches or handled through more limited methods. A dry dock was expensive to build, but it gave shipyards enormous power over repair schedules and naval readiness. It turned a hidden bottom of a ship into a working surface. The drama is simple but profound. A vessel made for water could be brought onto land without leaving the shape of the sea behind. The ancient Piraeus ship sheds protected Athenian naval power. At Athens' great harbour, rows of purpose-built sheds once housed warships when they were not in use. These structures were not decorative conveniences. They were part of a military system. Triremes were expensive, delicate, and vital to the city's defense and influence. If left exposed to sun, rain, and marine growth, their hulls could deteriorate quickly. Shelter helped preserve them, keeping the fleet ready for sudden need. The sheds also organized storage, maintenance, and access. A navy that could launch ships quickly held an advantage over one that had to repair them first. The scale of these installations reveals how seriously Athens treated maritime readiness. Democracy, empire, trade, and security all depended on ships that could be maintained as tools of power. The surviving traces remind us that shipbuilding includes the buildings around ships. A vessel's career depends on what happens between voyages, when carpenters, guards, officials, and crews keep it prepared for the next command. The first iron ships challenged centuries of wooden shipbuilding tradition. When builders began making hulls from iron, they were asking sailors to trust something deeply counterintuitive. Everyone knew a piece of iron sank, yet an iron hull could float if shaped to displace enough water. That principle had always applied, but the material made people uneasy. Traditional shipwrights understood timber through touch, sound, smell, and inherited practice. Iron belonged to furnaces, rolling mills, and engineers. It required new skills, new tools, and new ways of thinking about joints, corrosion, and strength. Early iron vessels often mixed old and new ideas, carrying rigging and layouts that still resembled wooden ships. Gradually, the advantages became too clear to ignore. Iron could form larger, more regular structures and did not depend on scarce natural curves. It also resisted some problems that plagued timber. The first iron ships mark one of shipbuilding's great psychological leaps. They proved that the sea could accept a vessel made from a material that seemed, by instinct, impossible. Iron frames allowed ships to grow beyond timber's natural limits. Wood had served seafarers for ages, but trees imposed boundaries. Even the finest timber came in lengths, curves, and strengths determined by nature. Iron framing changed that relationship. Builders could create internal skeletons from manufactured pieces, arranged for strength rather than limited by the shapes found in forests. This opened the way for bigger hulls and more ambitious designs. Iron frames could support large cargo spaces, heavy machinery, and complex internal arrangements. They also allowed hybrid construction, where iron strength and wooden elements appeared together during the period of transition. The change moved shipbuilding closer to industrial production. Components could be made with increasing uniformity, and calculations began to matter more deeply in design. A ship no longer had to be scaled mainly by the best trees available. It could be shaped by engineering intention. This was not simply a material substitution. It altered imagination itself, letting builders ask how large and capable a vessel might become. SS Great Britain proved iron hulls and screw propellers belonged together. Isambard Kingdom Brunel's famous vessel was a turning point because it combined several bold ideas in one ocean-going ship. An iron hull gave size and strength, while a screw propeller offered a different future from paddle wheels. The vessel was designed for the Atlantic trade, where efficiency and reliability mattered enormously. Paddle wheels could suffer in heavy seas as waves lifted them partly out of the water. A screw propeller stayed submerged, driving the ship from beneath the stern with greater consistency. The combination helped show that metal hulls and modern propulsion could work together on long routes. The ship also reflected the confidence of Victorian engineering when builders were willing to challenge older assumptions on a grand scale. It was not a flawless commercial triumph in every respect, but its influence was immense. It stands as a vessel that helped persuade the world that the future of ocean travel would be metal, mechanical, and increasingly independent of wind. Steel replaced iron because it was stronger for its weight. The move from iron to steel gave shipbuilders a material with better strength without simply adding bulk. That mattered because every ton used in the hull was a ton not available for cargo, fuel, passengers, armor, or machinery. Steel to be rolled into plates and shaped into frames that made larger vessels more efficient. As production methods improved, it became more affordable and dependable. Shipyards began to take advantage of its properties, designing hulls that were longer, stronger, and better suited to powerful engines. Steel did not merely make ships tougher, it changed their proportions and commercial possibilities. Liners could become grander. Cargo vessels could carry more. Warships could combine armor, speed, and heavy weapons in new ways. The adoption of steel also tied shipbuilding even more tightly to heavy industry. Mines, mills, railways, and shipyards became parts of one vast system. The modern ship emerged from that system, shaped by metal that made scale feel newly possible. Rivets once held ocean liners together by the millions. Before welded construction became dominant, countless steel ships depended on rivets. Each rivet began as a small metal fastener heated until it was glowing hot. Workers placed it through aligned holes in overlapping plates, then hammered or pressed it so the end formed a second head. As it cooled, it contracted, pulling the joint tight. The process was repeated again and again across the hull. On large ocean liners, the number could climb into the millions. This means the strength of the vessel depended on an almost unimaginable accumulation of small acts done correctly. The work shaped the sound of shipyards, filling them with metallic rhythms that could be heard far beyond the slips. Riveting was skilled, exhausting, and dangerous. Teams had to move quickly while the metal remained hot. The finished ship hid most of that labor beneath paint and grandeur. Yet every elegant voyage rested on those fastened points, each one a tiny promise holding back the sea. Riveting gangs worked in deafening heat, rhythm, and danger. The creation of riveted ships depended on teams whose coordination had to be exact. One worker heated the rivets. Another caught or carried them. Others held them in place and formed the closing head with hammers or pneumatic tools. The pace could be relentless because the metal had to be worked while hot. Sparks, noise, burns, falls, and crushing injuries were constant hazards. Inside confined sections of a hull, the sound could become overwhelming. Yet the work developed its own rhythm, almost like a harsh industrial music. Skilled gangs took pride in speed and quality because a poor rivet could mean a weak joint. Their labor was physically intense, but it also required trust. Each person depended on the others to keep the sequence moving safely. Shipbuilding history often remembers designers and vessels, but riveting gangs deserve attention as well. They turned flat plates into strong hulls through repeated teamwork under conditions few modern listeners would willingly enter. The move from rivets to welds transformed shipyard labor. When welding spread through shipbuilding, it changed more than the appearance of hulls. It altered the organization of work. Riveting required teams moving together in a tightly timed process, while welding could often be done by smaller groups or individual specialists. The skills were different. Welders needed to control heat, angle, speed, and penetration so that metal fused properly without hidden weaklers. Shipyards had to train workers, introduce new inspections, and rethink how sections were prepared. The transition was not always smooth. Some early welded ships exposed problems that taught engineers about stress, brittle fracture, and the behavior of steel under different temperatures. Even so, the long-term shift was decisive. Fewer holes had to be punched through plates. Less overlapping metal was needed. Assembly could become cleaner and more adaptable. The labor culture of the yard changed with the technology. A ship that once echoed with hammering began to take shape under arcs of light. Welded hulls made ships lighter, cleaner, and quicker to build. A welded joint joins metal directly, which reduces the need for overlapping plates and thousands of fasteners. That can save weight across an entire vessel. Lighter structure can mean more cargo, better efficiency, or improved performance. The exterior also becomes smoother because there are fewer raised seams and rivet heads. This may seem like a small detail, but water notices every irregularity. A cleaner hull can move more efficiently, especially when combined with good design. Welding also supported prefabrication. Large sections could be made away from the main slip, then brought together as the ship grew. This helped speed production and made it easier to organize complex builds. The technique required careful quality control because flaws could hide inside a joint. Inspection methods therefore became an important companion to welding. The result was a new kind of shipyard logic. Instead of assembling a vessel through millions of hammered fasteners, builders could fuse steel into broad, continuous strength. Liberty ships showed how fast standardized shipbuilding could become. During the Second World War, the United States needed cargo ships in enormous numbers. The Liberty ship program answered that need with standardization, simplified design, and mass production. These vessels were not built for elegance. They were built to carry supplies across dangerous oceans as quickly and reliably as possible. Standard plans allowed shipyards to repeat processes, train workers faster, and use prefabricated sections. Parts could be produced away from the slip and assembled with increasing efficiency. The result was a dramatic acceleration in shipbuilding. Liberty ships carried food, vehicles, ammunition, raw materials, and equipment that sustained Allied operations across the globe. Their importance came from quantity and timing. A single ship mattered, but thousands changed strategy. The program showed that shipbuilding could become a national industrial campaign. It also revealed how design choices could favor speed of construction over refinement. In wartime, the perfect ship was less valuable than the good ship built in time. Some Liberty ships were built in weeks rather than months. The most famous speed records from the Liberty ship program still sound astonishing. Once shipyards refined their methods, some vessels moved from keel laying to launch in remarkably short periods. These headline achievements were often special efforts, organized to demonstrate what coordinated labor could do. Even so, they reflected a real transformation. Materials, workers, cranes, prefabricated parts, and schedules were arranged with intense focus. The ship became less a unique handcrafted object and more a repeatable industrial product. That did not mean the work was easy. Thousands of welds, fittings, pipes, cables, and structural pieces still had to come together correctly. Speed brought risks, and some wartime ships experienced structural problems that required study and improvement. Yet the achievement remains extraordinary. Shipyards proved they could compress time itself, turning raw steel into ocean-carrying capacity at a pace earlier builders would have found unbelievable. The urgency of war made construction speed a weapon in its own right. Shipyards during global wars became vast theaters of mass production. In the 20th century's largest conflicts, shipbuilding expanded into a struggle of supply against destruction. Enemy action could sink vessels faster than older methods could replace them, so yards had to work at unprecedented scale. New workers entered the industry. Training programs multiplied. Night shifts, floodlights, cranes, and assembly schedules turned shipyards into around-the-clock operations. The ships built were not only warships. Cargo vessels, landing craft, tankers, escorts, and repair ships were all needed. Each one served a different part of the military machine. A fleet at sea depended on fuel, food, ammunition, spare parts, and transport. Shipyards became places where strategy took physical shape. Their success could influence campaigns far from the slipways. The scale also changed communities, bringing migration, pressure, opportunity, and danger. Warship production is often described through numbers, but behind those numbers were human beings working under urgency. They built the moving infrastructure that made distant operations possible. Women entered shipyards in huge numbers during wartime labor shortages. When war pulled many men into military service, shipyards still had to build and repair vessels at speed. Women stepped into roles that had often been closed to them. They welded, riveted, inspected, drove cranes, worked in offices, handled tools, and joined production lines. Their contribution was not symbolic. It was essential. Many had to learn difficult skills quickly while facing skepticism, long hours, and hazardous conditions. The image of women in wartime industry became famous, but the shipyard version deserves special attention because the work was physically demanding and technically important. A faulty weld or poor fitting could affect the safety of a vessel and its crew. These workers proved that ability had been limited by custom rather than capacity. After the war, many were pushed out as men returned, yet their impact could not be erased. They had helped build fleets. They had also changed expectations about who belonged in heavy industry, even if society was slow to admit it. The Kaiser shipyards changed expectations for industrial speed and scale. On the American West Coast, the Kaiser shipyards became symbols of wartime shipbuilding acceleration. They used prefabrication, intense scheduling, and a workforce drawn from across the country. Many workers arrived with little or no shipbuilding background, then learned specialized tasks within a tightly organized system. The yards produced cargo ships and tankers at speeds that astonished observers. Their methods reflected a broader industrial philosophy. Break the job into manageable parts, standardize wherever possible, move materials efficiently, and keep the whole process flowing. This approach changed what people believed a shipyard could do. It also changed nearby communities, especially places that grew rapidly to house workers and support production. The story was not without strain. Speed, crowding, race, gender, and labor pressure all shaped daily life. Yet the achievement remains remarkable. The Kaiser yards showed that shipbuilding could be scaled up with the urgency of an assembly industry, producing vessels at a tempo that matched the demands of a world at war. Modern block construction lets crews build many ship sections at once. Instead of waiting for one stage to finish before the next begins, modern yards divide a ship into major structural units. Work can proceed on several blocks at the same time in different areas. One section may receive piping, while another gains electrical systems. A third may be painted under controlled conditions before assembly. This parallel process saves time and improves access because workers can install components before the spaces become cramped inside the finished hull. The method also allows quality checks at stages where problems are easier to correct. When the blocks are ready, cranes or transporters bring them together with remarkable precision. The final vessel may look continuous, but it is the result of many separate builds joining into one structure. This approach changes the psychology of shipbuilding. The ship is no longer only something that grows from one place. It is a puzzle of immense steel rooms, each prepared in advance for its role in the whole. Giant cranes now lift ship sections heavier than historic vessels. A modern shipyard can make the past feel suddenly small. Some cranes are capable of lifting enormous blocks that contain several decks, machinery spaces, or completed structural assemblies. These pieces can weigh hundreds or even thousands of tons. In earlier centuries, such a mass would have exceeded the weight of many entire ships. The crane turns scale into routine, though the operation remains highly controlled. Engineers must know the center of gravity, lifting points, wind conditions, and path of movement. A mistake could damage months of work. When a block rises into the air, it carries pipes, ladders, bulkheads, and sometimes finished rooms inside it. The sight is one of the most striking images of modern shipbuilding. It shows how far the craft has moved from hand-shaping timber on a slipway. Yet the purpose remains familiar. Lift, lean, join, and trust the result to the water. The crane is today's great shipyard muscle. Computer design lets naval architects test ships before steel is cut. Before a plate is shaped or a block assembled, much of a modern ship has already been explored inside a digital model. Designers can examine structure, stability, machinery layout, fuel efficiency, safety systems, and maintenance access before construction begins. This reduces costly surprises in the yard. A pipe route that clashes with a beam can be corrected on screen rather than discovered in steel. Computer analysis also helps predict how a hull will behave under load, in waves, and during different operating conditions. The model becomes a shared language for architects, engineers, owners, builders, and inspectors. This does not remove human judgment. It gives judgment sharper tools. A ship remains a physical object that must face weather, corrosion, vibration, and human use. But digital design lets builders rehearse many problems before the vessel exists. It is one of the most powerful changes in the history of the craft because it moves part of shipbuilding into a world of tested possibility. Model basins helped designers watch future ships move through water. Before computers could simulate complex flows, designers used scale models to study how a proposed hull might behave. A carefully made model was pulled through a long tank, while observers measured resistance, wake, wave patterns, and other details. The results helped predict the performance of the full-sized vessel. This method was especially valuable because water can behave in subtle ways. A slight change in hull form may alter speed, fuel use, or hand loop. Model basins gave designers a controlled place to see those effects. The work joined craftsmanship with experiment. The model had to be accurate, the tests carefully run, and the data interpreted with skill. Watching a small hull move through a tank might seem modest compared with launching a ship, but the consequences could be enormous. A better shape could save fuel across thousands of voyages. Model testing showed that ships could be improved not only by building them, but by studying their motion before they ever met the sea. Hull shapes are refined to save fuel across millions of miles. For a large commercial ship, even a small improvement in efficiency can matter greatly. These vessels may travel immense distances during their working lives, so reducing resistance can save huge amounts of fuel and emissions. Designers study the way water moves around the bow, along the sides, and behind the stern. They consider the ship's speed, cargo load, route, and operating conditions. A hull that performs well when empty may behave differently when fully loaded. The challenge is to create a shape that serves the vessel's real life, not just an ideal test. Refinement can involve subtle curves that most passengers or observers would never notice. Yet those curves influence cost, range, and environmental impact. Shipbuilding here becomes the art of patient improvement. The drama is not always visible. It lies in the numbers saved over years of service, where a quieter wake behind the ship can mean a better future for everyone who depends on the sea. Bulbous bows reduce resistance by reshaping the ship's own wave. At the front of many large ships, below the waterline, there is a rounded projection that looks strange until its purpose is understood. This bulb changes the pattern of waves created as the hull moves forward. Under the right conditions, it can interfere with the bow wave in a useful way, reducing resistance and improving efficiency. The effect depends on speed, size, and loading, which means the bulb must be designed for the ship's expected work. A poorly matched one may offer little benefit. A well-designed one can save fuel over countless voyages. This is a beautiful example of naval architecture using the water's behavior against itself. Instead of simply forcing a path through the sea, a ship manipulates its own wave system. Most of the device remains hidden while the vessel is underway, working quietly below the surface. It shows how modern shipbuilding often hides its cleverest ideas where casual observers never look. Standard containers reshaped ports, cranes, ships, and global trade. Before containerization, cargo handling could be slow, costly, and full of uncertainty. Goods arrived in barrels, sacks, crates, bales, and odd-shaped packages that had to be loaded by hand or with small lifting gear. A ship might spend longer in port than at sea. The standard container changed the problem by turning many kinds of cargo into one repeatable unit. Once that happened, ship design had to change around it. Holds became cell-guided spaces. Decks carried stacked boxes. Ports needed specialized cranes, storage yards, road links, and rail connections. The container did not simply make ships bigger. It reorganized the entire rhythm of trade. A box could leave a factory, cross an ocean, and continue inland without being opened. That reduced theft, damage, delay, and labor costs. The most astonishing part is how ordinary it now seems. A simple metal box helped create the modern supply chain that fills shops around the world. Supertankers pushed shipyards toward unprecedented size and welding skill. Moving oil in vast quantities demanded vessels on a scale that earlier shipbuilders could scarcely have imagined. These ships were not designed around glamour or speed. They were designed around volume, strength, and endurance. Their hulls had to hold enormous liquid cargoes while surviving waves, bending forces, and constant loading changes. Building them required vast plates, long welds, huge dry docks, and careful control over structural stress. A tanker's size created problems that only large modern yards could solve. Even turning, stopping, and entering ports became major planning issues. Inside the hull, cargo tanks had to be arranged so the ship remained stable as oil was loaded or discharged. Safety also became a central concern because the cargo could be dangerous if mishandled. These vessels show how shipbuilding responds to global appetite. When the world demanded energy across oceans, shipyards answered by creating moving structures so large that they changed the scale of maritime engineering itself. LNG carriers need insulated tanks that hold fuel colder than Antarctica. Liquefied natural gas must be kept at extremely low temperature so it remains compact enough for transport. That requirement makes these ships unlike ordinary tankers. Their cargo containment systems are highly specialized, using insulation and carefully engineered barriers to manage intense cold. The tanks must cope with contraction, pressure changes, and the slight movement of liquid cargo at sea. A failure would be far more serious than a simple leak because the gas expands greatly when it warms. Shipbuilders therefore create a floating cold chain of remarkable precision. Some carriers use large spherical tanks that rise visibly above the deck. Others use membrane systems built into the hull structure. In either case, the vessel is a marriage of shipbuilding and cryogenic engineering. What makes the subject so compelling is the contrast. Outside, the ship moves through sun, rain, and salt water like any other vessel. Inside, it carries a cargo kept in a deep, artificial winter. Cruise ships are built like hotels wrapped inside steel hulls. A modern cruise ship is not just a vessel that carries passengers from port to port. It is a complex hospitality machine designed to remain comfortable while moving across water. Shipbuilders must combine cabins, restaurants, theaters, pools, kitchens, medical spaces, engines, crew areas, and safety systems inside one balanced structure. The challenge is not only fitting everything in, it is making the whole arrangement feel natural to thousands of people who may forget they are aboard a ship at all. Weight distribution matters because large public spaces and tall superstructures can affect stability. Vibration, noise, plumbing, ventilation, waste systems, and emergency routes all require careful planning. Many interior sections are prefabricated and installed with impressive efficiency. The finished vessel may feel like a resort, but beneath the carpets and lighting is an immense steel framework shaped by naval architecture. Its wonder lies in the hidden discipline that lets leisure float safely across the sea. Aircraft carriers require shipbuilding, aviation, electronics, and city planning together. Few vessels combine so many worlds in one structure. An aircraft carrier must be a ship, an airfield, a command center, a power station, a workshop, and a home for thousands of people. Its flight deck has to launch and recover aircraft in violent conditions. Its hangars need space for maintenance and movement. Its internal routes must handle fuel, weapons, food, people, spare parts, and emergency response without chaos. The hull must support enormous machinery and protect vital systems. Radar, communications, navigation, and defense equipment turn the vessel into a moving nerve center. Designing such a ship is almost like designing a small city that must fight storms, avoid threats, and operate aircraft at sea. The complexity is breathtaking because every system affects another. A change in one compartment may influence weight, safety, power, or airflow somewhere else. These carriers show shipbuilding at its most integrated, where steel becomes a floating nation of specialized functions. Submarines demand pressure hulls that survive the deep ocean's crushing force. A surface ship mainly keeps water out from below. A submarine must resist water pressing from every direction. As it descends, pressure climbs with frightening speed, squeezing the vessel with forces that would destroy an ordinary hull. This is why the pressure hull is one of the most critical structures ever built for the sea. Its shape, thickness, material, welding, and inspection must all meet severe demands. A small flaw can become dangerous under repeated dives. Inside, space is limited because strength often favors compact forms. Every pipe, hatch, cable, and opening through the hull must be carefully controlled. The submarine's outer shape may guide movement through water, but the inner pressure hull protects human life. Shipbuilding here becomes almost intimate because the crew lives inside a sealed metal world surrounded by weight and darkness. The achievement is astonishing. Builders create a vessel that can leave the air behind and still keep a pocket of breathable life intact. Nuclear submarines changed shipbuilding into a secretive scientific craft. When nuclear power entered submarine design, it transformed endurance. A vessel no longer depended on frequent surfacing for air in the same way diesel-electric submarines did. It could remain submerged for long periods, limited more by crew needs than by fuel in the ordinary sense. This required shipbuilders to integrate a reactor safely into a compact, silent, pressure-resistant vessel. Radiation shielding, cooling systems, propulsion machinery, and emergency controls all had to fit within a hull designed for stealth. The work became highly classified because performance details could reveal military capability. Noise reduction became an obsession. Pumps, gears, propellers, and even tiny vibrations had to be studied because sound travels far underwater. The craft of building these submarines therefore sits at the boundary of engineering, physics, metallurgy, and national secrecy. They are among the most complex machines ever sent to sea. Their existence shows how shipbuilding can become a hidden branch of advanced science. Icebreakers are built to climb onto ice and crush downward. An icebreaker does not simply smash through frozen seas like a hammer. Its hull is shaped to ride up onto ice so the ship's weight can break it from above. That requires a reinforced bow, strong framing, powerful engines, and a hull form that can survive repeated impact. The sides may be designed to reduce friction and prevent the vessel from becoming trapped. Some icebreakers also use systems that shift ballast or bubble air along the hull to help movement through difficult conditions. The work is brutal because ice can grip, scrape, and resist in ways open water never does. These ships keep routes open, support polar research, assist other vessels, and reach places that would otherwise be inaccessible. Their design reveals a different relationship with the environment. Most ships try to move through water efficiently. An icebreaker must deal with a sea that has become solid. It is built for a world where navigation means breaking the path itself. Research vessels carry laboratories into places no land lab can reach. A scientific ship must be more than a platform that floats. It has to support discovery in motion. Laboratories, winches, sonar equipment, sample storage, cranes, computers, and specialized deck spaces all need to work together at sea. Researchers may collect water from deep layers, map the seafloor, study marine life, monitor weather, or recover sediment cores that hold records of ancient climates. Shipbuilders must design for stability because delicate instruments can suffer in heavy motion. They must also provide power, clean workspaces, storage, and safe access to the water. The ship becomes a traveling research station that can position itself above a question. That is the remarkable thing. Instead of bringing nature to the laboratory goes to nature. A well-designed research vessel lets scientists work where the evidence actually lives, beyond harbors and coastlines. Its value is measured not only in miles traveled, but in knowledge recovered from places humans cannot occupy for long. Cable-laying ships build the hidden internet beneath the sea. Most international digital communication travels through fiber optic cables on the ocean floor. Installing those cables requires vessels built for one of the strangest tasks in modern shipbuilding. A cable ship must store vast lengths of delicate line in huge tanks, then pay it out with controlled tension across long routes. The cable has to cross plains, slopes, trenches, and busy maritime zones without being damaged. Near shore, it may need extra protection because anchors and fishing gear pose risks. The ship carries equipment for surveying, laying, burial, and repair. When a cable fails, specialized vessels can locate the fault, recover the line from deep water, splice it, and return it to service. The result is almost invisible to daily life, yet it supports banking, messaging, research, navigation, and global conversation. These ships reveal a startling truth about the digital age. The cloud is not only in the sky. Much of it rests on the seabed, placed there by shipbuilders and crews. Offshore wind installation vessels are shipyards answer to new energy. As wind farms moved out to sea, a new kind of vessel became essential. Turbines are huge, heavy, and difficult to assemble in open water. Installation ships must carry towers, blades, nacelles, cranes, and positioning systems capable of extraordinary accuracy. Many can jack themselves above the waves on long legs, creating a stable working platform while construction happens. This ability is crucial because even moderate motion can make heavy lifting dangerous. Shipbuilders must combine cargo capacity, deck strength, accommodation, lifting power, and dynamic positioning into one vessel. The task reflects a changing world. Earlier, specialized ships supported oil and gas. Now yards are also building tools for renewable energy. These vessels do not simply transport equipment. They help construct power stations in the sea. Their design is shaped by the scale of modern turbines, which continue to grow. Each new generation pushes shipbuilders to think bigger, stronger, and more precisely about how to build energy infrastructure offshore. Floating dry docks can lift ships without a permanent basin. Not every repair location can build a fixed dock into the shore. Floating dry docks solve this by bringing the dock to the ship, or at least allowing repairs where a permanent basin would be impractical. The structure can be submerged enough for a vessel to enter. Then, water is pumped out of its tanks, raising both dock and ship until the hull stands clear. This creates access to underwater areas for inspection, cleaning, and repair. The concept is wonderfully practical because the dock itself behaves like a controlled floating machine. Some have served naval bases, remote ports, and emergency repair operations. Others have been moved to new locations as needs changed. The engineering challenge is balance. The dock must lift evenly, support the ship correctly, and remain stable throughout the operation. A floating dry dock shows shipbuilding's problem-solving spirit at its best. It is not quite a ship, not quite a harbor, but a movable answer to maintenance. Shipbuilders design stability before a vessel ever touches water. A ship that floats is not automatically safe. It must return upright when wind, waves, turning, or cargo shifts make it heel. Stability is therefore one of the most important questions in design. Naval architects study the relationship between weight, buoyancy, hull form, and the vessel's center of gravity. They must consider how the ship behaves when loaded, empty, damaged, or moving through rough conditions. The challenge becomes especially interesting because every vessel has a different purpose. A fishing boat, ferry, container ship, tanker, and sailing yacht all face different stability problems. Builders cannot rely on guesswork. They use calculations, tests, rules, and experience to make sure the vessel has a safe margin. The drama is invisible until something goes wrong. Stability is the quiet promise beneath every voyage. It is decided before launch day, hidden in drawings and weight estimates, but it follows the ship everywhere, standing between ordinary motion and disaster. Ballast tanks help giant ships stay balanced while cargo changes. Large vessels rarely carry the same load in the same way throughout a voyage. Cargo may be delivered in one port, added in another, or shifted during operations. Without correction, the ship could ride too high, trim badly, or become harder to control. Ballast tanks solve this by allowing seawater to be taken in, moved, or discharged as needed. The system helps manage stability, draft, and handling. It also keeps the propeller and rudder working properly by ensuring the vessel sits correctly in the water. In a tanker or bulk carrier, ballast operations can be central to safe, everyday work. The system must be designed carefully because water movement inside tanks can create its own risks. Environmental rules also matter, since ballast water can carry organisms between ecosystems. Shipbuilding here touches engineering, safety, and ecology at once. These tanks are hidden from most observers, yet they allow enormous vessels to adapt their bodies to changing journeys. Classification societies created rules that made ships safer and insurable. As sea trade expanded, merchants and insurers needed a way to judge whether a vessel was sound. Classification societies emerged to survey ships, set standards, and record their condition. This changed shipbuilding by making quality more formal and visible. A builder could no longer depend only on reputation or local trust. Materials, construction methods, machinery, maintenance, and inspections could be measured against agreed rules. Insurers used such assessments to decide risk, which gave owners a strong reason to comply. Over time, classification societies became deeply involved in modern maritime safety. Their rules evolved alongside new materials, engines, ship types, and hazards. They do not replace the builder's skill, but they create a framework that helps prevent dangerous shortcuts. The idea is powerful because it turns experience into shared standards. Every inspection carries lessons learned from previous failures. In that sense, classification is shipbuilding's memory system, helping each new vessel benefit from the mistakes and successes of earlier ones. Lloyd's Register began with merchants trying to judge ship quality. In 18th century London, people involved in marine insurance and trade gathered information about ships because their money depended on reliability. Coffee houses were centers of commercial conversation, and one of them became associated with records of vessel quality. From that practical need grew an institution that helped formalize how ships were assessed. The earliest registers listed ships and gave judgments about their condition, allowing merchants and underwriters to make better decisions. This may sound like paperwork, but it influenced shipbuilding profoundly. Once ships were publicly rated, construction quality affected reputation, insurance, and commercial opportunity. Owners had reason to maintain vessels properly. Builders had reason to meet expectations. The register turned private knowledge into a more organized system of trust. It also shows how the history of shipbuilding is tied to finance. A ship is expensive, risky, and mobile. To send one across the sea, people needed confidence not only in timber and metal, but in information. Ship launches once used grease, gravity, and perfect timing. The traditional launch could be a breathtaking moment of controlled danger. A large hull rested on supports above a sloping way, ready to slide toward the water. Workers prepared the path with grease and carefully arranged blocking. Until the final release, enormous weight sat restrained by wedges, triggers, ropes, or other holding arrangements. Once movement began, it had to continue smoothly. Too slow, and the ship might stick. Too fast or uneven, and damage could follow. The calculation included tide, water depth, hull weight, slope, weather, and timing. Crowds saw a ceremony, but the shipyard saw a sequence that had to work. The vessel was not yet proven. Its first motion tested months or years of labor in seconds. There is something thrilling about that transition. The hull leaves the certainty of land and enters the element for which it was made. Grease and gravity may sound simple, but in launch work, they became instruments of precision. Side launches were used where rivers were too narrow for stern launches. Not every shipyard had enough room to send a vessel straight down a slipway into open water. Along narrow rivers and crowded waterways, builders sometimes launched ships sideways. This created one of the most dramatic sights in shipbuilding. The vessel moved a short distance, tipped into the water, and sent up a great surge as it settled. The method required careful planning because the forces were unusual. The hull had to be supported correctly before release and strong enough to handle the sudden change. The waterway also had to absorb the wave without causing unacceptable damage. Side launching became associated with certain inland or river yards where geography left few alternatives. It reminds us that shipbuilding is always local. The same final goal, getting a ship afloat, can demand different techniques depending on the shape of the shore. A sideways launch looks almost reckless, yet when properly planned, it is a clever answer to limited space. Some ships are lengthened by cutting them apart and adding sections. It sounds almost unbelievable, but a working vessel can be sliced open and made longer. Shipyards do this when owners need more capacity and the existing ship is worth modifying. The vessel is brought into dock, carefully supported, and cut across its hull. The two parts are separated, and a new prefabricated section is inserted between them. Then the structure, piping, wiring, shafts, and systems must be joined back together. The operation requires extreme accuracy because the finished ship must behave as one continuous vessel. Lengthening can increase cargo space, passenger capacity, or specialized working area without building an entirely new ship. It also shows how ships are not always fixed objects. They can have second lives, altered bodies, and changed purposes. The idea is strangely surgical. A ship enters the yard with one form and leaves with another. Its identity remains, but its proportions have changed. Few repairs reveal so clearly the confidence of modern shipbuilding. Ship recycling can recover steel from vessels that crossed the world. A ship's final journey often leads not to a museum, but to dismantling. After decades of service, its machinery may be outdated, its hull worn, or its operation too costly. Yet the material remains valuable. Ship recycling can recover large quantities of steel, along with machinery, fittings, cables, and equipment. The process can give old metal a new life in buildings, vehicles, tools, or even future ships. It is also difficult and hazardous if poorly managed. Vessels may contain fuel residues, asbestos, heavy metals, and other dangerous materials. Safe recycling requires planning, protective equipment, environmental controls, and responsible oversight. The subject is fascinating because it completes the shipbuilding circle. Ore became steel. Steel became a vessel. The vessel crossed oceans. Then it returned to raw usefulness. A ship may disappear as a named object, but its substance continues into other forms. Even at the end, shipbuilding is part of a wider material story. South Korea became a shipbuilding giant through speed and scale. In the late 20th century, South Korea rose to become one of the world's leading shipbuilding nations. This transformation did not happen by accident. It involved major investment, industrial planning, skilled labor, large coastal yards, and a focus on building complex commercial vessels efficiently. Korean shipyards became known for their ability to deliver huge ships with speed and quality. They built tankers, container ships, LNG carriers, offshore structures, and other demanding projects for global clients. Their success reflected the power of coordination. Steel supply, engineering, workforce training, design capability, and export strategy all had to align. Some yards grew so large that they became almost landscapes of production, filled with cranes, docks, blocks, and ships at different stages of life. The achievement reshaped global competition. It showed that modern shipbuilding could become a national industrial strength. South Korea's rise is one of the great examples of how a country can turn coastline, planning, and technical discipline into maritime influence. Japan's shipyards helped pioneer precision methods after the Second World War. After wartime devastation, Japan rebuilt its shipbuilding industry with remarkable focus. Its yards became known for efficiency, quality control, and careful production methods that influenced global practice. Instead of treating ship construction as a loose sequence of heavy tasks, Japanese builders refined planning, scheduling, accuracy, and workflow. They embraced welding, block construction, and systematic management in ways that helped reduce waste and improve reliability. The results were especially important as global trade expanded and demand for large commercial ships grew. Japanese shipyards built tankers, bulk carriers, and other vessels that supported the movement of raw materials and manufactured goods. Their methods were not only about speed. They were about reducing errors before they became expensive. Precision became a competitive advantage. The story shows how shipbuilding can reflect a wider industrial culture. A vessel leaving a Japanese yard carried more than steel. It carried ideas about organization, measurement, discipline, and continuous improvement that helped shape modern manufacturing far beyond the waterfront. China now builds many of the world's largest commercial ships. In recent decades, China has become a dominant force in global shipbuilding. Its yards produce a vast range of commercial vessels, from bulk carriers and container ships to tankers and increasingly sophisticated specialized ships. The scale is extraordinary. Huge dry docks, heavy lift cranes, steel processing facilities, and integrated supply chains allow production on a level few countries can match. This growth reflects global demand, state support, industrial capacity, and the importance of maritime trade to the modern economy. China's shipbuilding rise also shows how the center of the industry has shifted over time. Leadership moved from older European yards to Japan, then South Korea, and now increasingly to China. Each shift followed changes in labor, technology, investment, and market strategy. The ships themselves may sail under many flags, but many begin in Chinese yards. It is a reminder that the modern world economy has a physical birthplace. Much of it starts beside the water, in places where steel becomes trade. Robotic welding is changing the oldest metalwork in shipyards. Welding remains central to steel shipbuilding, but the way it is done continues to evolve. Robots can handle repetitive welds with consistency, especially in controlled settings where panels and sections are prepared for automated work. This can improve speed, reduce strain on workers, and produce more uniform results. The challenge is that ships are not simple products. They are huge, varied, and full of awkward spaces. Automation works best when design, preparation, and workflow are arranged to support it. Human welders remain essential for complex joints, repairs, and tasks that require judgment in changing conditions. The real transformation is a partnership between skilled workers and machines. Robots take on certain demanding repetitions, while people oversee quality, solve problems, and handle the work that resists automation. This shift links modern shipyards to the future of manufacture. The spark of the welding arc is still there, but increasingly it may be guided by programmed movement as well as human hands. Laser scanning helps modern shipyards check parts with extraordinary accuracy. A large ship contains thousands of components that must fit together across immense distances. Laser scanning gives builders a way to measure reality with remarkable detail. The scanner captures the shape of a section, compartment, or structure, creating a digital record that can be compared with the design model. This helps reveal distortions, misalignments, or construction errors before they cause larger problems. It is especially useful when blocks built in different places must join precisely. In repair work, scanning can record the exact condition of an existing ship, even when older drawings are incomplete or inaccurate. The technology changes how shipyards see. Instead of relying only on tapes, levels, and manual checks, teams can create dense clouds of measurement points. That does not remove craftsmanship, but it gives it a sharper mirror. A ship is too large for guesswork and too expensive for late surprises. Laser scanning helps turn complexity into visible, measurable truth before steel meets steel. Three-dimensional printing may soon create complex ship components on demand. Additive manufacturing offers shipbuilders a different way to think about parts. Instead of cutting material away or waiting for a specialized component to arrive, a yard may be able to build certain items layer by layer. This is especially promising for complex shapes, small production runs, replacement parts, and components that are difficult to source. For ships operating far from major supply chains, the idea becomes even more compelling. A needed part could one day be produced near the point of use rather than shipped across the world. The technology still faces challenges. Marine parts must meet demanding standards for strength, corrosion resistance, heat, and safety. Certification matters because a ship cannot rely on unproven pieces in critical systems. Even so, the potential is striking. Three-dimensional printing could reduce storage needs, shorten delays, and allow designs that traditional methods struggle to make. It suggests a future where some shipbuilding knowledge travels as digital instructions before becoming metal. Green shipbuilding is pushing hulls toward cleaner fuels and quieter seas. The ships of the future must answer a new question. How can they move the world's goods while reducing harm to the planet? Shipbuilders are exploring cleaner fuels, improved hull coatings, energy-saving devices, battery systems, hybrid propulsion, and designs that reduce emissions. The challenge is enormous because large vessels need immense power and often travel long routes between specialized ports. A fuel choice affects tank layout, safety systems, engine design, crew training, and global supply infrastructure. Noise is also gaining attention because underwater sound can affect marine life. A quieter ship may need better propeller design, smoother machinery, and reduced vibration. This shift makes modern shipbuilding part of environmental problem solving. The goal is not only to build bigger or faster, it is to build more responsibly. The sea has carried human ambition for millennia. Now the craft must learn how to carry that ambition with greater care for the water it crosses. Future ships may use sails again, assisted by advanced automation. Wind never stopped being powerful. It only became less convenient when engines took command of global shipping. Now, rising fuel costs and environmental pressure are bringing wind assistance back into serious ship design. These new systems do not always look like traditional sails. Some use rigid wings, rotating cylinders, towing kites, or automated surfaces that adjust to conditions. Computers can help optimize angle, deployment, and route planning so crews do not have to manage them like sailors of the past. The purpose is usually not to replace engines completely. It is to reduce fuel use by letting the atmosphere share the work. This return is fascinating because shipbuilding rarely moves in a simple straight line. An ancient source of propulsion is being reimagined through sensors, software, and modern materials. The future may not resemble the age of sail, but it may borrow its central insight. A ship that cooperates with the wind can travel more lightly. Autonomous vessels could change how shipbuilders imagine bridges and crew spaces. For centuries, ships have been designed around the people who operate them. They need bridges, cabins, galleys, bathrooms, stairs, life-saving arrangements, and working spaces suited to human bodies. Autonomous technology challenges that assumption. If a vessel can navigate, monitor systems, and communicate with shore-based control using sensors and software, its layout may change dramatically. Some small autonomous craft already serve research, survey, and military roles. Larger commercial use raises harder questions about safety, law, cybersecurity, maintenance, and trust. Shipbuilders may eventually design vessels with smaller crews, remote operation spaces, or even no traditional bridge at all for certain tasks. Removing people from some dangerous voyages could reduce risk, but it also removes human judgment from the immediate scene. The design challenge is therefore not only technical, it is philosophical. A ship has always been a human world at sea. Autonomy asks how much of that world must remain aboard. Shipbuilding remains the art of turning land materials into ocean journeys. At its heart, the craft is a transformation. Trees, ore, fibers, glass, copper, paint, wires, engines, and countless fittings begin on land. Through design and labor, they become something that can survive in an element humans cannot inhabit unaided. That is why shipbuilding still feels remarkable, even in an age of computers and giant cranes. A ship is never just an object. It is a promise that weight can float, that distance can be crossed, and that people can trust a made thing beyond the shoreline. Every era has brought new materials and methods, but the central mystery remains. Builders take pieces from the solid world and arrange them so carefully that the sea accepts them. Some ships carry cargo. Some carry science. Some carry memory. All of them carry the evidence of human imagination made practical. The journey begins before launch, in the minds and hands that teach matter how to move over water. Container ships changed shipbuilding by demanding bigger, boxier hulls. The container ship looks simple from a distance, but its shape represents one of the greatest design revolutions in maritime history. Older cargo ships needed holds suited to mixed goods, irregular packages, and slow handling by dock workers. Container vessels were built around a different idea. The cargo had a standard shape, so the ship could become a moving framework for boxes. That pushed builders toward long, open holds, strong cell guides, wide decks, and hulls designed to carry towering stacks without losing stability. The vessel's value came from speed in port, as much as speed at sea. A ship that could load and unload quickly could earn more across its lifetime. As containers grew central to global trade, ships grew wider, longer, and more specialized. Their boxy form is not clumsy. It is a brilliant answer to a commercial problem. These vessels turned shipbuilding into part of a worldwide system where steel boxes move almost like a single global machine. And so we have reached the end of our journey through the long and remarkable history of shipbuilding. Tonight, we followed a craft that begins on land, among timber, iron, steel, rope, fire, and human hands. We saw how people learned to shape heavy things so carefully that water would carry them. We moved from ancient riverboats to ocean voyaging canoes, from carved wooden hulls to iron frames, from the roar of rivets to the clean precision of welded steel. We stepped inside dockyards where whole communities worked around the making of ships. We watched vessels grow from keels, blocks, drawings, and measurements. We saw how builders solved problems of strength, balance, speed, cargo, safety, and distance. And through it all, the same wonder remained. A ship is a made thing that leaves the shore behind, trusting its form to the moving sea. Now, as the last thought settles, let the shipyard grow still in your mind. Let the tools rest. Let the cranes pause above the water. Let the great hulls sit quietly in the dark, waiting for morning tide. If you enjoyed this voyage, you are warmly invited to like, subscribe, or leave a thought below. It helps others find these gentle history journeys too. And if you are still awake, there will be another video on the screen. ready to carry you into a new story. But for now, there is nothing more you need to follow. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breathing slow. Imagine the harbor lights fading one by one, while a calm vessel drifts beyond the breakwater. The facts are finished. The sea is wide. The night is steady. And you can let the whole world grow quiet around you now. Sleep well, and good night.